Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin while working as a tutor to pay his debts? Join us as we follow Eli Whitney from his childhood days, building nail forges and violins to the moment he arrived at Mulberry Grove, and discovered how tiny cotton seeds were slowing an entire industry. Learn how Whitney's simple yet powerful invention, the cotton gin, changed the course of American farming, transformed the nation's economy, and revealed how one person's mechanical talent can bless millions.
Today we are pulling a fascinating thread, looking at the life of Eli Whitney, a mechanic, an inventor whose work really reshaped the American landscape. But his most famous creation also unleashed this profound and devastating paradox.
It really did.
So we've taken your sources, the historical accounts, the economic data, all of it, and our mission is to unpack the life of Whitney, focusing on the cotton gin and the massive ripples it sent through 19th century America.
It's a remarkable story. It really shows how pure ingenuity can just collide head-on with incredibly complicated social issues. Whitney, born in 1765, was clearly a technical savant from a young age.
Oh yeah, the sources mention he built a nail forge. And a violin.
Exactly. As a young man, he had these incredible mechanical gifts. But what this deep dive really shows is how his solutions to mechanical problems they created these unforeseen and deeply problematic human ones.
So let's trace this back. His path, it wasn't supposed to be in a workshop. He graduated from Yale in 1792.
Right, with a plan to study law.
But, like a lot of graduates, he had debts. So instead of law school, he takes a tutoring job and heads south to Savannah, Georgia.
And that one move, that trip south, ends up being this pivotal moment in American history. While he's in Georgia, he gets an invitation from Catherine Greene.
The widow of General Nathaniel Greene from the Revolutionary War.
That's the one. He's invited to stay at her plantation, Mulberry Grove. And it's there that he's introduced to the single biggest problem facing Southern agriculture at the time.
They were basically sitting on a gold mine they couldn't access.
That's a great way to put it. Cotton was the perfect crop for the South. It grew easily, you could store it for ages. The problem wasn't growing it, it was the seed.
And the sources break down the two types of cotton, right?
Yes. You have the long staple cotton, which was easy to clean, but it only grew right on the coast. But then there's the short staple cotton.
The kind that could grow everywhere inland.
Exactly. And its seeds were incredibly sticky. They clung to the fiber, which created this complete and total bottleneck that depended entirely on human labor.
A bottleneck is putting it mildly.
I mean, before Whitney, the job of removing those seeds was done by enslaved people, completely by hand. The records call it laborious, slow, and painstaking.
And the output was just abysmal.
Abysmal is the word. A single person working all day long could clean about 1 pound of cotton.
1 pound?
Just one. So even though the South could grow it everywhere, it just wasn't profitable to process on any kind of large scale.
Mm.
And that was the problem Whitney saw.
And when he saw the scale of that problem, he pretty wisely put his law books aside.
He did. He focused entirely on building a machine to solve it. He called it the cotton gin, which is short for cotton engine, and he got it patented in 1794.
So for anyone trying to picture this, it's not some huge, complex piece of machinery, is it?
No, it's remarkably simple, really. It's basically a wooden box with some rollers and brushes. The key part was a cylinder with these wire hooks or teeth.
Like a strainer, almost.
It worked exactly like a strainer. The hooks would grab the cotton fibers and pull them through a tight mesh screen. The fibers could pass through, but the seeds were too big and got left behind.
And the jump in efficiency from this simple idea is just staggering. It's hard to overstate.
It is. The smallest ones were hand-cranked, and even those could clean 50 pounds of cotton in a single day.
50 pounds. So you go from 1 pound a day by hand to 50. That's a 50-fold increase.
A 50-fold increase. And if you used the larger gins, the ones powered by horses or steam, the output was astronomical. It turned a minor crop into an industrial commodity, basically overnight.
No wonder he was so optimistic. There's that quote from the letter he wrote to his father.
Oh, yes. He was completely convinced he was about to be rich. He wrote, "One man and a horse will do more than 50 men with the old machines. 'Tis generally said by those who know anything about it that I shall make a fortune by it."
He saw pure profit. But that dream of a fortune, it pretty quickly turned into a legal nightmare.
A complete nightmare. He formed a company with Phineas Miller, the plantation manager, and their plan was to take a cut of the cotton as payment.
But the farmers, they weren't having it. The sources say they had no intention of sharing their profits.
Not at all. And the gin's design was just too simple. Plantation owners could look at it, figure it out, and build their own. The plans were stolen, pirated, and knockoff machines just popped up everywhere.
You'd think a patent would protect him from that.
Well, the legal system back then was complicated. He got his patent in 1794, but the infrastructure to actually enforce it was really weak, especially across state lines.
And the local juries in the South probably weren't too sympathetic to a northern inventor.
Deeply hostile. They saw it as a tax on their livelihood. So Whitney was just bleeding cash, fighting all these lawsuits in courts that were stacked against him.
So even with a patent, he was losing.
That's the tragedy of it. He brought countless lawsuits, but couldn't win consistently until the patent law was changed around 1800. But by then, his patent was almost expired. He made almost nothing from the cotton gin.
A classic story of the inventor losing while the invention completely changes the world. And this is where we have to pivot from his personal finances to, well, the fate of the country.
It's a huge pivot because the gin revolutionized the entire American economy. In the North, especially in New England, it created this massive, cheap supply of raw cotton for their textile mills.
It fueled the Industrial Revolution up there.
It did. And in the South, King Cotton was born. The whole region, from the Carolinas to Texas, became a cotton-producing powerhouse. By the mid-1800s, cotton was America's #1 leading export.
And here's where that paradox becomes just catastrophic. The machine was designed to save labor.
But it created an economic boom that demanded an enormous increase in labor. Suddenly, cotton was so profitable that plantation owners wanted to plant as much as humanly possible.
And you needed hands to plant, tend, and especially to harvest all those new fields.
And since harvesting was still done by hand, and the cheapest, most available labor was enslaved people, the gin suddenly gave the institution of slavery a powerful new economic justification.
It didn't save the laborers, it amplified the horrific demand for them.
The statistics from the sources are just stark. Slavery had been seen by some as economically declining. The gin reversed that completely. The number of slave states grew from 6 in 1790.
Before the gin.
Right, to 15 by 1860. By the start of the Civil War, 1 in every 3 Southerners was a slave. The cotton gin built the economic engine that chained the South to the expansion of slavery.
A truly devastating legacy. But the sources also tell his other story, the one where he finally did find that fortune.
That's right. His story pivots again in 1798. He's facing financial ruin from the gin lawsuits, and he takes on a government contract to produce thousands of muskets.
And he doesn't just make the guns. He invents a whole new way of making them.
He invents the process. He creates machine manufacturing based on interchangeable parts.
Let's pause on that, because this idea of interchangeable parts is arguably his greatest contribution to global industry.
It absolutely is. Before Whitney, if a part on a gun broke, a gunsmith had to handcraft a new one to fit. It was slow, skilled work.
And expensive.
Very. Whitney's idea was to use machines to make every single trigger, every hammer, every part so precisely identical that any trigger would fit any musket from his factory. It was the birth of mass production.
So he finally gets rich from this standardization, not the cotton gin. And the irony there is incredible.
It's a huge irony. His first invention deepens the divide that leads to the Civil War, but his second, more profitable invention creates the manufacturing technology that helps the North win it.
And the sources say he was also trying to be a different kind of employer. He built a town for his workers.
He did. Whitneyville, Connecticut. He built housing and promoted, ethical guidelines for employer-employee relationships. He was building systems, not just machines.
As for his personal life, he married Henrietta Edwards in 1817, had 4 children, but he died pretty young in 1825 at just 59.
Yeah, only 9 years of marriage. But despite that, and despite the complications of the gin, he's known as the father of American technology. The sources say he could not have foreseen the endless ways in which his inventions changed society.
It leaves you with this image of a genius whose ideas just created this historical turbulence he couldn't control.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So to recap this deep dive, we've seen the 50x efficiency leap of the gin, the patent piracy, the economic boom that linked North and South, and of course the catastrophic growth of slavery.
And you can still connect with that original genius today. The Eli Whitney Museum in Connecticut has these programs where you can make a 2-string violin patterned right after the one he built as a boy.
So what does this all mean for you? We see a story about someone trying to solve a clear problem and how that one solution, that one efficiency can have the most complex and tragic ripple effects.
Which brings us to a final, really important question to think about based on everything we've covered from the sources. Whitney became the father of American technology, and he got his wealth from interchangeable parts, a technology that ultimately helped preserve the Union. So you have to ask, was the success and positive legacy from his second invention an ironic, maybe even an unconscious, balancing of the historical ledger against the immense social cost and the expansion of slavery driven by his first? We'll leave that for you to mull over.
Thank you for joining us for this day in his story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in his story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the home school for faith and family.